Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We'll again follow the direction of the order in the chat. So if you have a question, please indicate so in the chat, and we'll just if you guys can just follow that order to ask Coach questions. So we will start with Wilson.
Hey, how are you today?
Good, Wilson.
Before we get into the baseball and looking back on the series, obviously Kim Mulkey getting hired, you've known her for a while through Kramer, I would suppose. What has y'all's relationship been like over the years, and what are your thoughts on this hire for LSU?
Well, I actually greeted her out at the airport this morning along with the administrative staff and Will Wade and several other people. It was very exciting to see Kim arrive. It brought back a lot of memories for me personally. 15 years ago, I arrived on an airplane to Baton Rouge and started my tenure. Obviously, not quite as much fanfare as she had today. She was very excited. I communicated yesterday with her a little bit via text, and then today also with Kramer yesterday. Looking forward to seeing Kramer this afternoon. It's an exciting time for her. It's an exciting time for her family, but it's also a very exciting time for LSU and for the community of Baton Rouge and for the state of Louisiana. I know she looked very good in purple. I told her that. I thought she had a glow about her. I think she's really excited. I think it's something that probably is going to really rejuvenate her at this point in her career. I read her bio yesterday. It made me dizzy. Her accomplishments made me look like a little leaguer compared to my bio. I've never seen anybody have so much success in a career as what she's had. But I think she's got this one last push in her career to do something special at LSU, and she's excited. She told me she was, and I think it's amazing that our administration, led by Scott, was able to pull this off, and I think it's exciting for everybody, that loves LSU. I think she's going to be awesome.
Okay.
Did I answer your question?
All right. Let's see. Chris Langley, you have a question?
Yes, sir. Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Hi, Chris.
I'm currently working on a story about Trey Morgan and his incredible freshman season. Could you just describe for me the impact he's had both in the batter's box and at first base for me?
Pretty hard to put it into words, Chris, the impact that young man has had on our program. He's been everything plus more for what we could have hoped for. Not only has he been a tremendous ball player offensively and defensively, but he's even been a better human being, a leader, gamer. He's hit the best pitching that we faced. He's come through in the clutch for us. He's shown up every day. He practices hard. He's done everything that you could ask for out of a young man. I don't care what his class is. For him to have done it as a freshman is even more amazing, but he doesn't act like a freshman. You wouldn't know he's a freshman except to read it on the roster. He doesn't act like a freshman. He's just been an amazing ball player. He sets the tone for us in the leadoff spot. He could bat anywhere in the first three spots in the order and be equally impactful to our team. He hits in the clutch. He sets the tone as a leadoff hitter. Like I said, he hits the best pitching. He rarely strikes out. He hits with authority. He uses the whole field. He draws walks. He steals bases. And what is there that he hasn't done offensively? And then defensively, I'm not sure there's many peers that he has. At least in our league, I haven't seen anybody handle themselves around the bag like he handles himself. Usually teams just put their big thumper over there at first base and hope they catch the throws that are chest high. You know, his footwork around the base, picking balls in the dirt, catching pop-ups in foul territory, you know, handling tough chances on ground balls, smashes. I mean, he's done it all. He's just been an amazing player for us.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey, Coach. I was just kind of curious of your assessment of the starting pitchers. It looked like, all three maybe didn't have their best stuff from this last weekend, but, when they got in jams, they were able to get out of them. I think that was kind of a common theme for all three is that, when you guys had early runners on first and second from those starters, they were able to get out with little to no damage at all. I was just curious as to what you thought of the starting pitching group this past weekend.
It's hard to define what best stuff means in my mind, Glenn. To think that a pitcher is just going to go out there and dominate every inning, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. What is that? Who does that? Very few pitchers do that. Part of being a pitcher is being able to raise your game when you need to and pitch out of jams and really including Will Helmers. That's what Landon Marceau, AJ Labus, and Will all did for us this past weekend against a very, very potent offensive team in a very difficult ballpark to pitch in. They were all amazing. I listened to a little bit of Landon's press conference after the game before I jumped on with you all, and it almost sounded like he was putting himself down, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing because I thought Landon was just amazing. He was awesome. He pitched 6 courageous innings for us in a tough environment and held down a really, really tough hitting team where, that fence felt like it was just behind the infielders' backs. And I thought he did a tremendous job. And then, of course, AJ Labus, what else could a guy do besides what he did? And then, I thought Will Helmers, did a really great job. And Blake Money did awesome. And, it's a shame that Javen Coleman's numbers his line looked like it did because I thought he was absolutely fabulous. And, until what happened in the bottom of the 8th inning, our pitching was just really tremendous all weekend.
You mentioned Javen there a second ago. And like you said, he was so good for so long. And to see him do that in his first SEC appearance, how much is he going to be someone y'all kind of start to rely on here moving forward out of the bullpen?
I think I told you after his inning on Tuesday against Louisiana Monroe that we were going to count on him big this weekend. And probably would have used him earlier than Saturday, except there wasn't a need to. Marceau pitched us through 6 innings or I guess 5 in the 3rd innings. I think Edwards came in and pitched a 1/3 or 2/3 of an inning. And then once we got the lead, I gave it to Fontenot to start the 7th inning. And then, of course, Labus went the distance in game 2. But I just thought Javen Coleman was unbelievable. What he did there in the 7th inning, bases loaded, nobody out, facing that heart of the order and getting those 3 outs, that was legendary stuff for me. You just don't see something like that very frequently. He was unbelievable. And I think that kid really grew up a lot last week, starting with Tuesday, and then what he did on Saturday was unbelievable. And so yeah, we're going to be counting on him a lot, and hopefully he can perform, over these last 4 weeks of the regular season, and hopefully in the postseason the way that he did this past week.
Hey, Coach. Good to see you again. I know it's been a while. I've been tied up with school and things like that, so good to see you again, first of all. But I was looking through some of the big leagues this weekend, and I noticed Alex Lang is really doing well through his first couple appearances. He's sporting a 1.8 ERA through 6 outings. He's had 3 straight scoreless outings. Have you talked to him at all? Have you had any words with him? Have you just seen his success at all?
Jared, I communicated with him the night he got called up to the big leagues. I actually knew about him getting called up before he knew about him being called up. I had to hold off reaching out to him until I knew that he had been notified. The general manager is a close friend of mine, Al Avila, and Al told me that he was going to be getting called up that night, but I had to hold off until they notified him. And so obviously, it was an exciting moment to talk with him that night. I haven't talked to him since, but I've been following his, each of his outings. So I'm just really proud of him, and he knows that I'm following very closely. I'm proud of all those guys. They're all performing exceptionally well, and Alex, I knew he was a big leaguer, and things didn't work out with him with the Cubs. They made him their first round pick, and I wasn't real. I don't think he got handled great with them. They stuck him with a really poor team in A-ball, and then sent him back to that same team. And Alex didn't handle it all that great. They had poor defensive teams, and he was kind of demoralized, by getting sent back to the team. And, I told him, you just got to do it despite, your disappointment. But it's hard, when you're counting on a team behind you to make plays and so forth. It's human nature. And they just soured on him pretty quickly. But when Al Avila, the GM of the Cubs, the GM of the Tigers, called me about him for a potential trade, I gave him a really high recommendation, and Al wanted to put him in the bullpen. And I talked to Alex Lang about it, and I thought that his best chance to get to the big leagues quickly would be out of the bullpen. And so Alex Lang was all for it. And they made the trade, and very quickly he's gotten to the big leagues, and I think he's going to excel in that role. With that big curveball, and now he's throwing really hard, I think he's destined for a lot of success in that role out of the bullpen. So happy for the kid. I think he's going to be a big leaguer for a long time.
Another player-specific question. Y'all have obviously been looking for somebody at second base to step up. How do you assess Drew Bianco at that spot over the weekend? Could he kind of hold on to that for a little bit longer maybe?
Like the other guys, he did some good things and some not so good things. Wilson, it's going to be a continuing evaluation process there. So I'm not really committing to any one person at this point. We're going to kind of work in progress there. He did, he had a couple of good hits, and unfortunately had a couple of big strikeouts in key situations. And, like everybody, it's been kind of a, good stuff, bad stuff type of thing. We'll probably keep using different guys there, is my guess.
Coach, I was just kind of curious. At what point in the season, or are you guys already there? Do you start looking at standings and just kind of what you guys need to do and what kind of ground you need to make up? I know that you guys aren't really typically in this kind of position where you're fighting to just get into the SEC tournament and whatnot. But what's the process like with that, and how much of that do you talk about with your team?
Well, it's a good question, a fair question, Glenn. With the team, up to this point, we're just talking about playing each day, one game at a time. That's the only way you can handle it, because it seems just like such a daunting task. Personally, I look at the standings every day. Okay, it's my job. And obviously, the goal, has changed quite a bit for this year. The goal every year, I say it to the team every year, the first goal is to make the SEC tournament. Everybody kind of chuckles when I say that, but this year just shows you how you can never take anything for granted. This is a tough league. After this weekend, we will have played 7 weekend series. And 6 of those series will have been against teams that will have been in the top 10 in the country when we played them. I mean, that's just stating a fact. The only series that we will have played against a team that wasn't in the top 10 when we played them was Kentucky. And that was a road series, which is always a difficult series at Kentucky anyway. Fortunately, we were able to win that series. And, you know, I mean, you know how the old saying of if frogs had wings, okay? So I'm not going to repeat the whole one, but, you know, if we could have one more pitch against Tennessee and held on to a victory there, if 2 more outs against South Carolina and held on to a victory there, we could have held on to a 9-1 lead with 2 outs in the 8th inning there. I mean, we'd be 9-9 right now. We played the number 1 most difficult schedule in the country. If you look at the, you know, the RPI. I mean, if we would have held on to those 3 wins, we'd be 27-12, probably ranked 10 to 15 in the country. Our RPI would probably be 18. We wouldn't be thinking about, you know, that question, Glenn. You know, we're that close. I mean, it's been a struggle all year, as you know, but it just goes to show with 4 weeks remaining, we'd have been in perfect position to make our final push. And you don't take anything for granted, but we'd have almost been through the most difficult portion of our schedule, the number 1 most difficult schedule in the country. So, you know, we just got to take a deep breath, and we have 16 games remaining, starting with tomorrow. A good Grambling team that's putting up a lot of runs, getting a lot of hits, scoring a lot of runs. Take it one at a time, get through tomorrow. Got the number 1 team in the country coming in Friday, and take it one at a time with them. But if we can just take care of business in these last 4 weekends and these last 4 midweek games, then I think we can put ourselves in position to be in the postseason and then make our run. But we still have some portions of our team that have to be addressed. You know, we have to be able to finish games. We have to be able to be a little bit stronger in a couple of positions. And we got to continue to do other things well that we've been doing. You know, our top 2 starting pitchers have to continue to be superhuman like they've been. Fondo's got to continue to be great at the end of the games like he's been. You know, our freshman position players have to continue to be great like they've been. You know, the things that we've been doing great, we can't just take for granted that they're going to always be great. But we're you know, I told you we've been close. And I told you, just think about those 3 games. If we'd have just gotten the job done in those 3 games, how different everything would look right now. Now, I think our RPI is 24, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, that's not a terrible RPI against the number 1 most difficult schedule in the country. And those 3 losses, if they would have been wins, would have probably vaulted us at least 7 or 8 spots in the RPI. So we're really not that far away if we can just get the job done here in this last stretch. 4 weeks to go. So we're gonna try to stay positive. And you know, I mean, I've had a gazillion people say to me in the last 2 days, right, great job this weekend, great job this weekend. Yet it doesn't feel like it because we lost the 9-1 lead with 2 outs in the 8th inning. But we just wanted a series on the road against a top 10 team that's one of the more difficult places in the country to play. We had 2 terrific wins. So now we just got to turn the page and move forward and keep plugging away.
Real quick before we let you go, Paul, that Grambling game tomorrow, Will's obviously got the final exam. So what's going to be the pitching sort of plan, and what do you want to see from your team in this game?
Well, Wilson, I haven't really even mapped out the pitching yet. I haven't seen Alan Dunn this morning. He had some personal business he had to take care of in New Orleans. So I'm just going to wait till he gets in and sit down and map it out with him. So later today sometime I'll let Bill Franquez know who's going to be starting, and he can send that out. But I'm sure it's going to be a combination of a lot of guys, and certainly names that didn't pitch on Saturday will certainly be on the mound. Guys like, Michael Fowler and Theo Millis, Jacob Hasty, others, we'll see mound time. Mikhail Hilliard. I'm just not sure who's going to start the game yet. We haven't mapped it out exactly, but hey, we're going to have to go out and swing the bats against this team. This team beat Louisiana Monroe earlier this year, 13-5 or something like that. They're very capable of putting up a lot of numbers, and we're right in the middle of final exam, so we're going to have some focus and do the job. I think we're like 18-3 or something against non-conference teams this year, so got to keep that going, and that we want to keep our RPI up. This is not a game we can stumble in, and that's for sure.
Anyone else?
Okay.
Thank you, Coach.
Yes.